For the first time that I can remember, I'm afraid to live here. In this city, in this state, in this country. And I know that that reveals something about me and what I've been able to enjoy, especially given that there's a lot in the last 5 years that has been tough and frightening. Heck, there's a lot in the last year that has been hard for those who love this city. But this is the first time for me that genuine fear has accompanied the sadness and the grief and the anxiety of the other tragic events that we have collectively endured. And I know there are a lot of folks who have a lot of very valid reasons to be afraid right now. But I'm afraid right now because I don't see how any of this ends. Previously, in moments of turmoil in our city and in our country, it felt like there was a future toward which we could head together. It felt like, yes, things are hard right now. We disagree right now. But through hard work and compassion, we could get through it together. This moment feels different. It feels as though we are miles and miles apart from one another. It feels as though we can't even begin to see the humanity in one another. It feels as though those we disagree with are forever the other. And that's what's terrifying. In today's gospel reading, we have this little vignette from the beginning of Jesus' public ministry, where he's starting to gather some followers. A few verses earlier from what we read today, Jesus picked up two guys named Andrew and Simon, who Jesus renames Peter. And in today's reading, Jesus pulls Philip into the mix. Philip came from the same hometown as Andrew and Peter. And Philip has a friend named Nathaniel. And Philip is pretty excited about his encounter with Jesus. And so he finds Nathaniel and he says, "We have found him about whom Moses and the law and also the prophets wrote, Jesus, son of Joseph, from Nazareth." And Nathanael says, "Can anything good come from Nazareth? Can anything good come from Nazareth?" You get the sense that Nathanael already knows the answer to the question he's asking. Of course not. Nothing good comes from that place. Nathanael's from nearby in Cana. He knows about that place and those people. There's no way something as good and significant and potentially world-altering as the Messiah could come from Nazareth. Nathanael's mind has been made up before he even asks the question. Can anything good come from there? It's a question that's not even really a question, a conclusion. It's a way of saying, I already know who you are. I know what kind of people come from there. I already know what's possible and what isn't. Nazareth isn't just a town on a map. It's a category. It's shorthand. It's a way of sorting the world into us and them, into places and people worthy of hope, and places and people that are not. And if we're honest, we do this all the time. Can anything good come from them? From those people? Nathaniel's fear and his cynicism don't make him unusual. They make him just like us. But Philip doesn't argue. And maybe that's the surprising moment of grace. That Philip doesn't try to convince Nathaniel. He doesn't shame him, even maybe if Nathaniel should be ashamed. He doesn't argue him out of his fear or his prejudice or his certainty. He simply invites him into proximity with Jesus. Come and see. Because something happens when we actually see one another. Not as categories or as headlines, not as threats, not as enemies, not as people from Nazareth, but just as people. As human beings made in the image of God. As neighbors. As beloved. And right now in our city, in our world, it feels like we're forgetting how to see each other. Fear is doing something to us. It's shrinking our imaginations. It's hardening our assumptions. It's turning neighborhoods into battlegrounds and neighbors into the other. And when fear does that, when fear writes the story, it becomes so easy to believe, like Nathaniel, that we already know everything that we need to know. That nothing good can come from there. That nothing hopeful can come from them. That nothing redeemable can come from this moment. But then Jesus shows up. And Jesus keeps inviting. Come and see. Come and see the humanity and the people that you've been told to fear. Come and see the grief of those whose lives have been torn apart. Come and see the courage of neighbors watching out for one another. Come and see the places where God is still at work, still showing up, still walking with those who are hurting and grieving, feeling alone and isolated. Because you see, the story doesn't end with Nathaniel's cynicism. It ends and begins again with Jesus, who enters into our humanity and the humanity of all our neighbors, who chooses to align himself with outsiders and the marginalized, the poor and the oppressed, sinners. Jesus isn't just inviting us to see something new. Jesus is doing something that none of us can do on our own. Jesus is the one who refuses to let fear and prejudice or violence define what is possible. Jesus is the one who opens a future when we can no longer imagine one. That's why Jesus says to Nathaniel, to us, you will see greater things than this. Heaven opened. In other words, God is not finished with this world. Even here, even now, even when we are afraid. And the invitation that Jesus extends is not go fix it. It's not figure it all out. It's simply follow me. Come and see how God chooses to meet the world. Not from a place of power, but from a place of profound humility. From a place no one would expect. From Nazareth. Come and see how God holds together a divided world by stepping into it, bearing it, refusing to abandon it. Come and see what Jesus is doing. And when we do that, we find ourselves changed. Our eyes begin to see a little more clearly. Our fear loosens its grip. Our categories begin to break apart. Our minds and our ways of constructing this world begin to change. Not because we're all of a sudden better people, but because Jesus is present. Come and see, trusting that Christ goes ahead of us, opening what is closed, crossing what feels unbridgeable, and calling us not into certainty, but to life, this day and always. Amen.